Welcome back. Today's objective is to write to a file. And let's suppose you have two strings, data1 and data2, that you want to send to a file. Let's say while the program is running, you will enter a value for data1 and a value for data2, but you want to store these values into a file. At this stage, let me show you the directory. Let me just get here where that file is. So this is my source code right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to see that if I compile this, we're going to have the application, but then we're going to put a few lines of code here where it will create a file for us, a repository, if you may, to store data in it. So first, let's compile this for a second, just so you understand the file structure. So let me just compile this. There you have it. Okay, and let's go to that directory again. Now we have two files. We have the executable, which is the application, and we have the source code. If we run this executable, it will simply ask for the first name, last name, and that's it. Okay? Notice it didn't create a file, didn't do anything. We need now to add a few lines of code to be able to store what I just typed into a file. Well, to do this, you need a data structure file and create a pointer that you're going to use to specify the actual file name, open the utility to write or to be in write mode or append mode or read mode. So there are many modes in which you can access a file, and then make sure that you close the file. Okay? So this is a pointer, and let's call it file PTR for now. Okay? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use what we call two functions, fopen and fclose. So there will be two functions, one to open a file and one to close the file. Okay? So will be for fopen to work, what we're going to do is tell it in what mode we're going to do this. Okay? So if you were to do fopen, which is a function, and you're going to tell it what is it you're trying to open. Okay? And in our case, it's we want to associate it to file PTR that we have there. Okay? And so to associate it to it, you're going to put file PTR over here. And now fopen, okay, what? Well, name the file. Let's call our file names.txt. So that is where we're going to store the file. And now we're going to say in what mode we're going to be doing this. And I'm just going to put W, which is for write, semicolon. Okay, so this syntax right here will open the file. If it doesn't exist, it will create it for you. And then when we're done, we're going to have to do fclose. But fclose works this way. You put the pointer in there, file PTR, in this manner. So you open it, and then you close it. When you open it, you're assigning it to this pointer. When you close it, you're using the pointer to close the file. Now let's compile and run this program for a second. And let's just type dude again. And let's look at what we have. And notice now I have a file called names. Now it doesn't have anything in it. Now what I did with an extension .txt is I made it so it's compatible with Notepad. So let me just double click on names and notice there's nothing in there. Okay, so we haven't stored any data in it. However, the important part is if the file didn't exist, this syntax creates it for you. Okay? All right, so it will be open. While it's open, we're going to have to do certain things. Okay. So let's go ahead and do something with the file by sending data 1 and data 2 to the file. So this is where the actual writing happens. Now remember, when we wrote to the screen, we use printf. To write to a file, you use fprintf. fprintf. Okay? And then same thing, %s, you have two strings, put a space in between first name and last name, %s. And, oh, give me a new line. We're going to see this for append. It will be a nice thing to have. So that means each first name and last name will occupy a line on a file. Right now in W mode, it will write over whatever you have in the file already. So we have to pay attention to that. We're going to have to distinguish between write and append. So for now, this is data 1 and this is data 2. So data 1 will have the first name and data 2 will have the last name. So now let's see how this behaves. Compile and run. And let's enter Bob, Marley. Okay. And I get an error. Let me see what's going on here. Ah, yes. There's one thing missing right here. Now, if you see this with this error, it dumped it. And what's going to happen is the file still has 0 kilobytes, so nothing got stored in there. Show you here, there's nothing there, which is a good thing. I'm missing one piece of information. fprintf has to associate itself to the actual pointer you're using. So file ptr goes here, and then comma. So that way it knows, because you might have 2 or 3 files open. So which one are you dumping this data to? Okay, so this is nice. So let's go ahead and compile and run now. And let's do it again. Let's put Bob Marley back in. And notice this time I didn't get a runtime error, which is a good thing. And let's look in the directory where I'm supposed to be saving these files. And notice now I have 1 kilobyte, right? That's a default value. And let's go to the file. And here we are. We have Bob Marley. Now, let's observe the write privilege that you have here for accessing the file. What does it do every time you run this program again? Well, let's go ahead and run it again. So this time I'm just going to run and type a name like Henry and Ford, right? So took it in. Now let's see what happens if we go back to that directory and open it. And notice it wrote Henry Ford over Bob Marley, and that is because it will write over whatever was in that file. Okay? So what we would want is an append mode instead of write mode. So we'll change this W into an A. Okay, so I'm going to back this up, put an A, and now let's see if that would work. And compile and run. Remember, we made some changes, so we'll have to compile again. And let's type Thomas Edison. Now let's see if indeed it appended under Henry Ford. And sure enough, Henry Ford remained there. And now we have a new couple strings stored in here on the second line with Thomas Edison in there. Okay, so the next example, we're going to learn how to read from a file.